let's talk about the disaster that is LEC, because I don't know how you watch this as a European fan. Well, actually, I do know how you watch this as a European fan.
This last week was literally, if you think of the results, Monty, even though to certain fans of certain teams it was fun, these are the worst results you could ever have happen. There's 3 reasons why. So you're supposed to hope SK is the team that's turning it around this split, right? They're going to be a contender. That's dead. They were so shit in that game. That is dead in the
BDS
that is dead on arrival. BDS was supposed to be the team with the highest floor, except G2. They actually, for real, could have lost that fucking opening series. They were shit, and then they were nothing against G2.
Yep.
And then thirdly, what you need to believe if you want LEC to be good is that eventually Fnatic won't just be allowed to fuck around and then randomly, and they just did it again. They were actually dog shit every second from EWC to this match. And then in this match, they flipped the switch, which is the nightmare about LEC, and they magically did hands people. So, like, bro, the LEC's never been in a worse spot than this. Like, we're in such a fucking bad spot right now, mate. Because I said she wanted the opposite. You wanted BDS and SK to look awesome and then, you know, really competitive match. Like, this looks bad right now, mate. This is bad.
Yeah, especially because you know that this iteration of Fnatic, like the stars have to align perfectly, and it happens like once every 3 months, and they look this good.
Hasn't played like that this entire year. Wasn't that like the series of the year for him so far? Like, I haven't seen that guy since last year, mate. Who the fuck was this guy? That was probably the best series he's had all year, for real.
I mean, Noah has been bad this year. And like Noah has looked much better in that series against SK, but it's like you have to wait for like all of the players to be, you know, the stars to align for all of the players to decide that they actually want to play well on a given day. But the thing is, you wanted this to happen in the finals, because now you know it's not going to happen in the finals, because it never happens that frequently. It's like, here's the one-off. This is the bait. This is the razor cake. This is the false hope right here about Fnatic, because they're just not going to look this good again. They're just not going to. Like, Noah is not going to have another day like this. Like, think about all the awful days they have. Like, everything that could go wrong on this team always goes wrong. The 2 most consistent players are Razork and Jun this year, period, full stop. But you don't know when Noah's going to have a bad game, Humanoid's going to get a huge lead and then int it away, Oscarina's just going to die 10 times in a game. Like, you don't know. Like, Oscarina can have really bad performances. So I think if you're a Fnatic fan, like, I am so sick of this Fnatic roster, because their floor is just disgustingly low. Yep. And the floor is so low that it's like high enough that they'll always like make playoffs, but you never know what the fuck's going to happen after that.
They themselves looked sus against fucking GX.
Oh, they were terrible.
Dude, they could have lost to Giant X themselves. So it's not even like I agree with you. The worst thing about Fnatic is they essentially have just like burned their potential now. And now we have to like balance out by regression to the mean over the next matches back to where they should normally be. Because you know what, Monty? The way that Fnatic operates in League is like that really annoying trope they would always do on Batman TV shows, right? Where they'd introduce the character of Catwoman, but you make it like she actually, like in the fucking background, she actually has 9 lives, right? Well, if you know this, in classic American TV tropes, if you ever have a character like that who has 9 lives, they will always, because at the start with 9, they'll always just like piss away the first 3 on the most frivolous things like that you'd never, you know, instead what you do, you know what you do? If you had 9 lives, what you guard all of them really carefully so you could never be defeated. You know, you'd only die like very sparingly. Instead, what they'll do is they'll be like, I've got 9. And the joke is you piss away so many at the beginning over like random stuff like jump off a building or something that like at the end, you've only got the 2 left. It's like, oh, hold on. Like, that's Fnatic now. You've burned it all on the BO1s. You waited all the time in the playoffs. You burned it on this SK series. And I agree with you. You just know that here's what's going to happen. Here's the prediction, guys. In the upper bracket final, Fnatic will either get 3-0 clapped or they'll win 1 game where Humanoid pops off. Then they'll go to the lower bracket. God forbid they do get the way past BDS and SK. If they go to the final, then they'll just get like comprehensively beaten by G2. And if that happens, like, here's why, if you're Fnatic, I actually do think you have to make roster moves after this year, because it's not even the context that you don't have a good team. You would in theory have the second best team over the year, Monty, if you look at the results on aggregate 7. But here's why, because at the end of the day, you are Fnatic. Like, bro, it's mental. G2 has been winning everything for like 5 years now. This is if you're Fnatic, like, you have to think of it like being the Red Sox or the fucking, or like the 49ers. You have to get back back in the game. You know what I mean? You better get some championships on the board. Like, it's like history is just only going to be remembering Europe as the G2 region. And you guys had the lead. You had all those fucking championships, all those great, amazing teams. You've got to have a championship team eventually. You can't keep being second best. This is whack. Come on.
We did go through the like Rogue Mad Lions era in like 2021 and 2022.
Still three, like, though. They only nicked three. I guess you got that one last year as well. You had four that got nicked. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, but the one last year was just kind of fake. You know what I mean?
It was whatever. Listen, Chasey is a champion of the LEC, while my friend Forgiven was just a bum who couldn't even make a final point. That's the reality I have to live in with fans. So. This is dope. This is awesome. By the way, just a quick question to all you out there who voted him all LEC last year. Where is Chasey? Anyone know? Anyone seen Chasey recently? I'm going to look it up on Gamepedia now. Does Chasey even play League of Legends? I'm just going to look this up. Chasey, does he play anymore? I have no idea, mate.
Is he in Turkey?
Apparently he's just listed as inactive on Mad Lions. Okay. He's still listed as being on Mad Lions, but he's just listed as inactive now. Okay. I mean, I'm just going to put this out there. I wasn't the biggest Chasey fan. It's probably better than Merwin now, though. Can't he play? Can't Chasey come and play? Right. He's all right at best, mate. He's not great, though.
But yeah, look, I think we did have, 2021 and 2022, there were some fun series that we saw. It was kind of like the rise of the good version of Mad Lions. That was when Rogue, the Larson Odoamne edition of Rogue was actually like, they did
Rogue
3-0
off is very sad too. I used to like the fact they had their own distinct style as well. Yeah. Like that was dope. Yeah.
Yeah. So those were some better times, I would say. But yeah, I think it's just I don't know what it is. Cause like, G2 really, they weren't very dominant in 2021. Right. And they won one title in 2022, but they got clapped by Rogue in one of the finals. And if you actually think about, it's like the perception of G2 that's so interesting to me, because it seems like it was a long time ago since G2 was, wasn't super dominant, but it was only like a year and a half, really. But I think it's just the perception is weird because of the other times that they were super dominant, and we think about 2019 G2 and we kind of forget that there was a less dominant period in the middle of these times. But it feels,
by the way, what you're saying makes it even worse for Fnatic. Like in the time they haven't managed to win one title, Rogue's won one and Mad Lions has won three. Like these aren't even the biggest orgs, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean? They don't, it's like they pay the most money. That's even worse if you're Fnatic. It's like, where's your title? Fucking hell.
Yeah. I mean,
and by the way, you have a great, here's the reason why you've got to make roster moves, Monty. Because right now, as long as you keep Razork, you can have the basis of an amazing team for next year. Like, start with him, pick maybe one or two other players. Don't go too far, obviously. One or two. You can remember, dude, I think right now, if Caps is the best player in the LEC, then Razork's the second best. You know what I mean? Like, look, people like Hansama's cool and became, yeah, that's all great. But if I'm picking like pure value, like we're starting a franchise tomorrow, Monty, and you get first pick, so you pick Caps, I'm taking Razork second, mate. Like, this guy's a stud. He's mega.
Yeah, I mean, that's why, I mean, he ended up staying on this roster, right? It's not like he hasn't been a sought-after free agent. Is that Fnatic, I think, understands his value.
So get a good mid laner, get a good fucking ADC. You know what I mean? You can build this team out. You can do it.
The problem Fnatic has is that people think Fnatic is richer than it actually is. Like, Fnatic is a team that has had very good rosters, and they've had very consistent levels of like finishes and worlds appearances, but they've never actually been the richest team. And so, Thorin, I think they just got saddled with this giant humanoid contract, and because of the way that the laws in Germany work, they can't get out of it. So I think they're kind of forced to continue with this roster until humanoid's like contract is up. I think that's the actual problem here. I don't even think they necessarily want to keep with this roster. They're just kind of backed into a corner.
I mean, I was told from people internally, no one will buy his contract. But the thing is, the problem is, it doesn't end until the end of next year. Bro, well, that's like that's too long. That's too long, mate.
I bet you we're going to see Humanoid as the starting mid laner for Fnatic in 2025.
Yeah, that's what's sad. Like, this is what's gross, too. People don't think this through, right? Already, since they played 2022, 2023, and now 2024. Dude, by the end of 2025, like, Razork and Humanoid will be like the fucking jungle mid that have played the most together, like, ever in Europe or something insane like that. Even though the joke is they will factually be the jungle mid that played together the most, Monty, while spiritually being the jungle mid that didn't play together at all, ever. Like, you get the premise there. So that's just going to be infuriating me. Like, why are we making this fucking roster? What is this shit? Because what's sad, by the way, is I even think they would both just be better elsewhere. Like, it's clear to me, Humanoid needs a very particular type of jungler. If you give him that, maybe then he even blossoms. Maybe you don't have all this downside. I feel like you're also just wasting your time. You're spinning your wheels playing together, in my opinion, you know.
I think Humanoid is just a player who lacks motivation. I think he is very fundamentally talented. I just think that he finds it hard to actively invest himself into the game outside of major international events.
I know what you mean, but the problem with that is, again, Monty, like, oh, poo, Monty, the problem is I'm really good at League, and sometimes I just can't be bothered playing for like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year because I'm just not that motivated. And so what do you do instead? Just like win, but not very good. No, just sometimes lose. Just sometimes lose. All that. So it's like, what? Like, who's this guy? Fucking little Lord Fauntleroy. Fucking get it together, dickhead. You're getting paid a king's ransom, mate. Here's why I can't fuck with that logic, Monty. You're from Czech Republic, bro. Or Czechia, or whatever they call it now. Like, mate, you're not like someone who it's not like you live in Beverly Hills. Like, dude, you're probably earning what like your entire family tree could earn in like 5 lifetimes. Like, I'd be pretty motivated to like change my family's life. You know what I mean? And like think about this. If you do a great job in League alone, you could set your whole future family up. Like, you can have all your sons and that. You can have broad businesses. If you do a smart job with this, just even think of it that way, bro. There's a motivating factor for you right there. Aside from how about be brilliant at your craft, be one of the greatest of all time. Because here's the saddest thing about him, Monty. His talent is fucking obvious. It's why everyone gets tricked by him. He does have not only a mad talent, he even has like an intuitive feel for the game that sometimes is genius. I've seen him have those games against like Scout and Faker where he's the better player. I've actually seen that happen. But then you take that and you just say, bro, can we just get like some professionalism and essentially can we shore up the weaknesses? Can we like get the bottom end and make it so that the average performance is good? You know, that if you play in a bad team, you still do, you know, you follow your protocols, you close. If he did that, he would be one of the greatest players ever to play from the West. But instead, he's going to go down in Monty, almost like those sports stars that like, this is obviously just to give an analogy because esports to sports doesn't one-to-one. He's almost like those sports stars that you hear of like Ronaldinho, where the premise goes that like they never ever practiced as much as they had to. You know, they were like partying or they were like disinterested or they had a whole bunch of interest with girls going on elsewhere. They were distracted. Like, you just think to yourself, what if? Because if you think about people, this is why, if you notice, I'm fans of certain players, I'm not of others. You know what? People might think Larson was a boring mid laner, but you get the vibe he put mad fucking hours in the game, mate. You get the vibe he really cared about being as good at his style as he could be. And whether that meant he won or lost, he can go out and you know what? He can do the Peyton Manning thing, Monty, where at the end of your career, you can just say, you know what? When you actually put in like all the effort you can just accept the results. You don't have to be tortured. But if you're Humanoid, you're going to be the guy in a bar in 40 years going, hey, man, I could have been so, you know, you're going to be that guy. You're going to be that guy with that dog shit speech no one wants to hear, because it's true. You could have been like a guy with 10 LEC championships, but you're going to end with what, 2 or, you know, something like that, or 4 or something, you know. It's going to be sad.
Yeah. And, you know, this Fnatic roster should be one that is competitive with G2. Like, look, G2 is a good team. They're a great team. They're a world-class team. But if you my argument would be, Thorin, like, why isn't it that, so first off, for the sake of G2, that there aren't better teams in this region to give them an even better shot at performing internationally. But second off, if you have a world-class team in your region, how come none of the other teams are improving? How come Fnatic goes to MSI and looks like dog shit? How come they go to Esports World Cup and look like dog shit? Like, shouldn't they be getting better because they're playing against G2? Like, I don't understand how all of the teams in Europe can look so bad when they have, you know, who is G2 scrimming? They must be scrimming at least some of these teams regularly, and they just never actually get better. You know, we've talked about the GMing problems in this region and how a lot of the players are like weirdly placed on teams, but it's even just it just feels like everybody in Europe is just super demotivated at the moment. Like, even legacy players, like Wonder and Yanko shouldn't be performing like this. Come on. And like, Heretics shouldn't be this bad. Why is Heretics this bad?
I mean, there's that thing where like don't have a star player. How's that real? By the way, that's one thing. I mean, me and Dom talk about the upcoming Best Damn League show, but the real bomber of Heretics this year is now that you know that whole Zviru thing was just fucking a blip on the radar that was irrelevant. Now you just wish you'd see what would happen if Perks had played. You know, at least that would have been interesting, right? This team has nothing.
Talked about this team.
This team has nothing. It's just boring, isn't it? This team gives a shit. Like, spoiler, if they lose, fine, they're not that good. If they win, well, they're just going to lose in the next match anyway. So it's like, who gets hyped about Heretics? Just nothing in it.
Also, still playing Smolder in summer 2024 playoffs. Like,
mate, they have to. They're sort of options. Think about this. They're like hard forcing fucking like in theory carry picks onto Flackhead, bro. That's where Heretics is at in summer of this year. Like that's the ultimate admission your team is just cooked, mate. You're supposed to be percolating to like championship form now. Like spoiler, that team knows it isn't going to Worlds, mate. They're just finishing. What they're doing, Monty, is you ready? If you're someone like Heretics, all you're thinking is this following sentence. Only a few more weeks until my Valorant break. I'm calling it a Valorant break where you get to end the year early, like 4 to 5 months early, collect all the salary, but not have to work in League of Legends anymore. So that's what we call a Valorant break. They're about to get their Valorant break. Rogue's on their Valorant break right now. Vitality's on their Valorant break. Everyone's Valorant break's coming up soon. So just give them time. Give them time.
I do think it's very funny that like Rogue and Vitality just got to take 6 months off before anybody else in any other major region did. I mean, the whip is still cracking behind even the bad teams in the other regions, but they just get to peace out super early.
Also, just think how crazy that is, because if you are like the obvious person is look, I think Photon maybe had like a worse split this time. The obvious one is fucking Kazi. Bro, if you are Kazi, what did you do wrong this year? Can someone explain it to me? Like he even played really well in most of the games. Like he actually he had to come essentially like last place and have his year be done halfway in, even though he's not only a decorated champion, he's one of the best players right now. Like someone again, we've got to fix these rosters, guys, because this is mental at this point. Like this is almost as bad as that time when Origin was 10th place in like 2020 Monty, and they had like Opset and Alfari who were like actually the best players at their position. Like I hate it when that happens, where you're just trapped in like a bad spot. You know, it's just gross.
Or
you want the system. You want to incentivize the great players, so you don't want to have it half a year off for fuck's sake. Come on,
right? And you know the problems with BDS are just going to proliferate. I think what's so upsetting about BDS's playoff performance so far, Thorin, is like they were supposed to be the well-coached, disciplined macro team, and they were playing horrible macro against Mad Lions. Like they literally were just giving up vision for free. Like they weren't even playing around their own super minion waves at the end of game number 3. Like they should have lost basically every game in that best of 3 series. And that's really just not acceptable for this team. I do think that Mad Lions was smart to ban the Jinx for the first couple of games, which is, you know, what G2 also did, because you can see what happens when the Jinx comes into play in the 3rd game, which is like, it gives them a window to like win a team fight and then, you know, pull the game back from the brink. So I do think that is very savvy, because Ice has been very, I mean, it's not even a Jinx meta really. It's just like a fringe meta pick, but that is something that they've been favoring, and it worked out really well for them in that context. So the Jinx ban is kind of necessary, but like Adam on this champion pool is not it. Sheo on this champion pool, that ain't it. Nuke on these champion pool, that's not it. Like the meta feels super janky for them, but even then I expect them to at least have like better calls. Like they're just botching their calls now. Maybe they're flustered because these are game states, or they're falling behind in ways because they're kind of individually not great at these champions. But I mean, the series against G2, they basically got bopped, even when they had substantial advantages, like Adam's advantage, you know, through the lane swap on the Malphite, ending up being, you know, relatively, you know, good at the start of the game. But there ain't no way that Adam's going to be carrying these games, even if you get him ahead on these resources. And then he does things like, here's something funny.
He played like a bomb. He played like an actual bomb, man.
Here's something funny. So in the Mundo game, so he ends up building Warmogs into Heartsteel. So he's building HP items into Lucian, Caitlyn, and Aatrox, with a Sejuani in the jungle and a Renata Glass at support.
Made is, bro, why are we doing a Dr. Mundo pick when you are Adam? Like, bro, it's Aatrox. Like, surely you have an angle of like a fucking a Darius. You know what I mean? You're Adam, bro. Like, if there's ever a time for you to do one of your picks, this is it. Like,
yeah, but
bro, it's right there. It's right there. None of them even banned. You can pick them. You go for it.
But here's the thing: why are we doing 2 HP items when you can build some armor? And like the value of Heartsteel. So when I was on my stream reviewing this game, Thorin, and I saw him buy Heartsteel, I literally just obviously I hadn't seen this game yet, so I ran a prediction on my stream about how many Heartsteel stacks he would actually get, because you have to auto a champion to proc Heartsteel.
It's gonna be fuck all.
So I guessed actually correctly, which was crazy because of the game state. I was like, how many autos is this guy in a team fight? Realistically, they were already losing. They were like losing inhibs. I'm like, all right, I think two Heartsteel stacks.
That's gross. Okay, is that what he got?
2 Heartsteel stacks, which he got an extra 83 HP, guys, from that Heartsteel. And if he had actually had an armor item, he may have been able to fight in some of these team fights. So no value from the Heartsteel buy whatsoever. So really wild, like his itemization, especially in the face of like the only AP damage being Sejuani and Renata Glask. Like, what are we doing with this HP stacking where you can't? I mean, he's not the joke is he's not even HP stacking because he builds Heartsteel so late that he never gets any procs on it. So really weird play by Adam.
Here's the person I want to highlight though, mate. You actually have to just give it up to fucking Ice though. This guy is a 25-year-old Korean, never was, who played a little bit for Live Sandbox and was just playing in the shitty Ultra League last year, Monty. And you watch, here's what's crazy about that guy's game. He doesn't seem to be affected by anything negative that happens in the game or from his team. He just plays. The guy really it's like he must have the craziest, cleanest mental ever. He just plays his job out like it was solo queue. He's just in that situation. He just plays it out correctly. Like, dude, he's never going to be the best ADC, but he's a fucking good player. And like I say, mate, it's like consistency is very admirable. This guy's like, what a find this player is. I thought for real they'd tank this roster when they kicked Crownshot, but like, amazingly, they sort of did find someone with the skills of comparable to Crownshot with none of the ego. Like, fair play to them. Whoever scouted this guy, you fucking nailed it, mate. Well done. What a great signing.
I also think, you are seeing that the European teams are getting really good value out of, up and coming or challenger Korean bot lanes.
I was making this point on Best Damn League Show. I basically said at the point, that whole take we all had of why would you recruit anyone except the best Korean because you have the RL player? Dude, I'm going the opposite way on that now. It's the other way around. I only want you to recruit the best ERL players, Monty. If it isn't the best ERL players at this point, as you've seen from Jun and fucking Rahel, etc., dude, even a mid-level fucking Korean talent could be a star in our league.
They're also cheaper.
It's just plausible. Yeah, of course. Of course. But that's just that seems like that's the place to scout right now, mate. Yeah, I'm with you.
I also think they're just more motivated. I think also because of Korean culture, they tend to try and, adapt to the team more. Their focus is always going to be mostly because of cultural reasons on the team game. Right. And so I think they're much less likely to be disruptive in team environments. They're going to be cheaper and they're going to be good. And how can you argue? Sure, Noah was a huge success in the first half a split he played and has been pretty spotty since then. But Jun has been fucking fantastic since Fnatic picked him up.
You could argue Jun is the guy who turned Fnatic around, right? It was him working with Razork that turned that fucking team around, mate. Yeah. Rahel made SK contender.
Been good. Yeah. No. So it's been, I think we've seen the success of many of these Korean bot lanes, and that's not even mentioning some of the top laners like Photon who have come in. You mentioned Chasey, and sure, Chasey's not a team now, but he is a champion. He was able to propel. Yeah, so are other top laners on on Mad Lions who may not Arbit. He existed. He wasn't Korean. He still won a title somehow. So, but I do think a lot of these challenger players are going to be looked at more seriously by some of these European rosters. And I've seen people predict I think, there's going to be even more of these players within LEC because it just makes sense. If you are going to be a team that needs a fix, and I think Fnatic didn't have money to splash out. They don't have money to go get Carzzy right now, I'm pretty sure, and replace Noah. and they want a Korean-speaking bot lane. I mean, they got rid of Trimby, and everybody, including us, said, wow, why would you get rid of Trimby for Jun? And Jun has been good. I mean, I don't think he's been as good as Trimby was on his peak, but at least he can speak Korean to Noah in that lane, and it seems to be working okay for them. And his individual performance, especially on engaged champions, has been very solid.
And also, as you say, the joke of it all is the Korean player might actually even be cheaper with how it is right now. Because the difference is, while like 4 different teams battle over some ERL prospect, and you have all this drama with Linchas and all this shit, instead you have some guy where, as we say, if this guy's playing in DRX or fucking Live Sandbox or, you know, fucking UP in the LPL, you could probably pay more even if you're just like the 7th best LEC team. Why wouldn't you be able to? Of course.
Yeah.
They're not getting much money in these teams, guys.
And clearly the scouting is working well. Rahel and Luan have been an amazing revelation in LEC. Like, I don't think without them that SK is in the position they're in. Sure, they got bought by Fnatic. We'll see if that holds true for the rest of the playoffs or not. We've got a lot more, we have, it's not only these playoffs, Thorin, but it's going to be obviously, once we get to the season finals as well. So it doesn't stop here, guys. Like, the summer playoffs, they're going to end in a couple of weeks, and then we're going to head straight into the season finals, and it's going to be, that big bracket, right? Depending on championship points, who ends up getting in.
Monty, I think we need to expand the concept. In the same way as KT Roaster as an org was the Razor Cake, I'll tell you who the LEC Razor Cake is. It's obvious. It's Nisqy. Bro, every time you think he's got it nailed down and his team's looking really good, and are you ready for the dreaded thing? You start saying things like, maybe Nisqy's all LEC. Maybe he's the MVP. Get ready, because that next playoff, he's going to get absolutely booty blasted out the server. He's not going to be in the game, mate. Like, this guy is one of the craziest teasers I've ever seen, mate. It's actually wild, isn't it? He does it every split, it feels like.
Well, I think the thing is his level just doesn't change. He's like, when other players are demotivated in the regular season, he's just very consistent. And when other players ramp up in playoffs, he just doesn't ramp up. He just stays at the same level at all possible times. It's very, his floor and his ceiling are like an inch apart. I think that's the problem. It's like there's never any room, and his floor is very high, to be fair. But
he's not the player, yeah, of course.
Yeah, he's not the guy who is gonna. I say this, he has won titles. He's not the guy who's going to be probably the one to win you like a lot of consistent titles.
Also hasn't won that many. He won one bullshit online one in NA when there was no competition, and then he won this bullshit one in Mad Lions last year. That's it. There you go. That's it.
But the thing is that everybody is always going to be wanting to have him. That's the thing.
Oh,
is because he sets your team floor really high too, because he is a team player, and he is the guy who helps out the jungler. So you can actually run a lot of different rosters. Like, he has a very respectable champion pool. He's just not that guy who's going to like have that fucking insane finals performance and get you that trophy. He's going to enable somebody else to do that maybe. And also, if he gets a lead, he's just going to tower dive and give up the bounty gold.
Technically, Monty, he can be the MVP in the finals just for the other team. So, so there is that angle, because man alive, this guy can also hint like a motherfucker. It's crazy, isn't it? He's got like some fucking Hillesang Jr. in him. You know what I mean? Like, there's just moments in the game where he's like, I'm just doing shit. It's like, what are you doing, Nisqy? No, please. It's wild. I've seen him in some mad fucking games, mate. It's wild. I can't trust this guy and play. You know what, Nisqy? I'm going to stop fucking betting on your team. I'm sick of losing betting on this motherfucker's teams and players. Mad Lions back in the day, SK now. I don't believe in Nisqy anymore. I no longer believe in Nisqy. I'm a Nisqy atheist. There you
go. I do think SK is going to, continue to plow through these playoffs, though, because they're going to
better bounce back. Come on. We need them to make the playoffs interesting.
I mean, surely they can be the winner of Mad Lions Koi versus Carmine Corp.
That seems like a slam dunk. Come on.
Which, by the way, is absolutely delicious this next week, Thor. The fact that these are the two teams that are that one of them is going to be eliminated in last place of this playoff bracket in this best of 3, and they're playing each other is so deeply funny. I'm loving this.
Well, one fan base is just going to be sad as fuck, aren't they? Think about that. There's the two worst fan bases both going at each other. So it's like, yeah, let them fight. Let them fight. Godzilla time,
The
motherfucker.
thing is that Mad Lions actually has enough points that they've already qualified as one of the top 6 teams. So Karmine Corp
Yeah, but that's
actually,
going to be glorious. Monty, just wait. If you thought the format was scoffed before, when this Mad Lions gets to play in the season finals, are you fucking kidding me? They are going to get murked. It's going to be so bad. Because that's the equivalent of the LPL group. There's going to be no bad teams in there, Monty, except them. Just them getting bonked by everyone. It's going to be hilarious.
It's just more torture. It's just the torture of hope for the Mad Lions fans. I just want to give a shout out to Rogue, by the way, who secured exactly 0 championship points for this entire year.
That's impressive.
They literally got bounced out before, like in the bottom 2. Every single split.
Yeah, guys, even Karmine Corp has 45 points thus far, and Rogue has 0.
Because they've
actually got a 0.
Because
like,
they made it
essentially, guys, literally, if Rogue had just said at the beginning of the year, we forfeit all our games, the result for them would be the same. That's actually that's how stupid you know, when he used the colloquial term, this year was a write-off. It really was a write-off. By the way, mate, what the fuck did Larson do in a past life? What the fuck did he do to deserve this, mate? Like, he must have been on some wild shit. I know.
He got a title.
I know.
He betrayed
Yeah, but this year is
That's what
pure suffering, though. This year is pure suffering, mate. It's bad.
They had to sacrifice Odo Amne for that title, Thorin, and now he's dead, and they can't ever get a title again, right? That was the deal with the devil.
The worst thing about that as well is it didn't work out for anyone. Think about it, right? Odo Amne doesn't even play League. He's like guesting on LEC. Malrang's in Brazil, by the way. Insert your own jokes. That's League prison right there. Malrang's doing a life sentence in Brazil.
He's just method acting the jungle. That's why he had to go to Brazil. He wanted to become the jungle.
Larson and Comp are stuck in Rogue, which has 0 points. And Trimby is on a Heretics, where even though he's one of the best facilitating players, there's no one to facilitate. So it's like, what was it all for? What was it all for fuck's sake? It's just garbage. Everyone's career and life is worse because of you, GM of Rogue.
Also, not related, but Vitality is also just cursed until the end of time. No matter how many rosters they make, they're just doomed to suck forever for whatever reason.
You know the saddest thing about the Vitality one is the Vitality one is actually the reason why I have such a hard time being rude to the LEC owners. Because, bro, on paper, all that org has done is just recruit really good players. Yep. Think how many, Monty. This is the equivalent of like an NFL team that just signs like all NFL talent. Like they've been signing like all LEC players for years now, and somehow none of the rosters ever work. It's mental. It's actually mad, isn't it?
They're like, let's take a flyer on this Chinese prodigy and put all these resources into teaching him English and getting him integrated with the team. Nah, you just get fucked. I mean, it's like they tried everything that you could possibly imagine. Is the Vitality headquarters like built on an Indian graveyard or something? It's wild how cursed this team is. It's just doomed right from the start.
Like, for real, if you just run down the list, mate, it is mad. Like, their list is going to be like the Hall of Fame of European League. It's like they've Perks, Alfari, Kazi, Hillasang. Holy dude, it never ends. Fucking like, you got Vethio was the MVP of the league only a few years ago. By the way, Photon is mega. Kazi now. You have fucking who else? Perks. Self-made, who else? Upset.
Yep.
Like, mate, it's mental. Like, the talent list is bonkers. Yeah, you keep got Crown Shot. They've had all these players. Did they have Crown Shot?
Yes.
Yes, they did. Yeah, they did. Yeah. They had Labrov even 1 point. They've had everyone. It's actually mental. Fucking hell.
You can't catch a break. On some of them, they were too early. On some of them, they were too late. Bo, obviously, as well. So like I think it is very weird to see Vitality.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or be a pleb and don't.